Shropshire is 3.5 billion years in the making. These hills have been dragged across the Earth's surface from as far away as the Caribbean, the Arctic Circle and Africa, bringing with them everything from barrier reefs to desert sands. This small corner of England contains 10 of the 12 geological periods in our planet's life cycle, all deposited here in Shropshire. The original inhabitants lived in the ancient hill forts and were well known to Claudius Caesar as the tribes who gave his legions so much trouble. This was the most fortified patch of land in the country, and its warlike inhabitants the biggest thorn in the side of Rome. It was here, on this hill, Caer Caradoc, that Caractacus fought his last stand against the might of the Roman army. This is Wroxeter, which in the 2nd century AD was one of the largest Roman towns in Britain. The Romans have now gone, but they've left us some things we can still enjoy. Shrewsbury, the historic capital of Shropshire, where the River Severn wraps around the town like a fast-flowing moat, protecting it on almost all sides. And where the town doesn't have water, it has a castle. The Triassic stone defences and the oxbow of the river have defended the town from attack for the last 1,000 years. They've acted as the last line of defence in various campaigns, from the Wars of the Roses to the English Civil War. Its greatest act of resistance, however, was in the 1960s, when Shrewsbury repelled the town centre developers, who were forced to look elsewhere for easier pickings. The very water that held back change has protected its history and secured its place as one of the most beautiful architectural gems in the country. And paradoxically, because Shrewsbury has resisted change for so many centuries, that's placed it in a position to change on its own terms. Like many towns around the world, Shrewsbury's got its fair share of people who want to enjoy themselves, express themselves and make things happen. For centuries, Shrewsbury was known as a place for people to come and enjoy a summer season of wholesome activities in the arts or the environment. Things are no different today. Shrewsbury enjoys one of the longest annual arts festivals in the country. It runs over 100 days of summer and includes more than 300 events. This is when Shrewsbury comes into its own, when it comes into bloom. Every year, thousands of people come into the streets, the parks and the landscape to experience Shrewsbury in all its colour.
It's a real collaboration between the artistic community of Shrewsbury and quite a forward-looking borough council.
It's so full of talented local craftspeople and artists.
Not only do we have the shopping centres, but we also have a wealth of independent retailers.
And some excellent pubs.
And it's just a really nice place to come and to live.
Shrewsbury ist eine schöne Stadt.
Nein, es ist wunderschön.
Charles Darwin was born in Shrewsbury. This is where he lived and where he spent his childhood. This is the very place where his young, inquiring mind found the material to drive his imagination, an imagination that was to unravel the greatest mystery of our existence. On the banks of the river, he wrote,
"It is interesting to contemplate an entangled bank, clothed with many plants of many kinds. with birds singing in the bushes, with various insects flitting about, and with worms crawling through the damp earth. And to reflect that these elaborately constructed forms, so different from each other and dependent on each other in so complex a manner, have all been produced by laws acting around us.
Charlie! Charlie!
The environment where Charles grew up and the natural world around him were critical to the path he chose to take in life. Another great local character was Percy Thrower. When he was a little boy, he wanted to be a gardener like his dad. He became head gardener for Shrewsbury in 1947, and then the nation's head gardener after broadcasting for the BBC for nearly 40 years. When Percy first came to Shrewsbury, the quarry was nothing more than a cabbage patch. It was used to feed the town during the dark days of the Second World War. He turned the acres of mud and furrow into what we have today, with a tough love campaign of replanting and re-landscaping. The lime trees he planted, he reckoned would be at their best in the first half of the next century. Right about now, in fact. He also concentrated on two then relatively unknown plants, the geranium and the fuchsia. Percy needed to bring life and colour back to the parks, and he needed to do it quickly. He chose the geranium and the fuchsia because they give you a flowering plant from a cutting in one season.
Shrewsbury is a centre of environmental excellence. We are investing in the historic fabric of the town and also in the parks and gardens. It's a whole corporate activity that the council is involved with.
This investment clearly demonstrates how Shrewsbury and Atcham are committed to improving the local environment, not only for those who live here, but for the many visitors who visit this wonderful county town.
My name is Stan Sedman. I'm the chairman of the Shrewsbury in Bloom Committee. The structure of the committee enables us to draw together the many diverse groups and societies throughout the town.
And at the same time deliver real visible improvements through numerous community projects.
We involve all age and social groups, as well as encouraging businesses to become partners by sponsorship and support.
The children have really enjoyed taking part in Gardening Club, and they've done a range of activities. One of the first activities we did was planting vegetable seeds, and they've been preparing the soil, planting.
I just enjoy seeing them when they're fully grown, and at the end hopefully we can give some of the food to the kitchen.
And I think it's a special thing that's happened around here for a club that's made a load of really good flowers.
It is a great honour to lead this committee, and I gain much pleasure from working with those people who I meet and who are involved not just in the In Bloom committee, but who are involved in ensuring Shrewsbury continues to be a great place to live and work.
I lived in this country for 40 years now, and I love gardening. Now, my passion are Brugmansia or Angel's Trumpet. And today I have the largest collection, private collection in Europe.
The Shrewsbury Flower Show as we know it really gained momentum during the end of the 19th century and into the start of the 20th century.
12 hours of continuous entertainment.
Yes. Some really top-class worldwide acts. The three great marquees with their thousands of blooms, and of course both days end with the traditional Shrewsbury flower show firework display, the likes of which I think you'd be hard-pressed to find outside the City of London.
The town of flowers typifies what is at the heart of Shrewsbury, with its long tradition and association with flowers and everything associated with it.
Shrewsbury is a hub for environmental technologies in this country. It's got the largest cluster of water management consultancies in the UK. The environmental industries are one of our strengths, and it's something we're very grateful for because Shrewsbury is a town that floods. Every year, billions and billions of cubic metres of water pour down from the Welsh mountains straight through our town.
We have an ambition as a town, as a borough, to be even better environmentally.
It showcases our commitment to sustainable development. It embodies the principles that the council wants to see throughout the borough, from energy efficiency to incorporating renewable energy.
We're very fortunate in Shrewsbury and Atcham in having a conservation store to facilitate the repair, the sympathetic repair of our historic buildings.
The recycling, they'll be able to make lots more cardboard and we'll be able to save a lot more trees.
Nearly a phase. This is just amazing.
I'm proud of Shrewsbury and I like to do my little bit to keep Shrewsbury tidy.
This area, which was old earth sludge lagoons, was wasted, couldn't be used for anything else, so gradually over the years it's become a wildlife area.
Attingham is subject to the changes in weather that we all experience in our own gardens. So for example, in the recent storms we did lose a number of trees, and so one of the things we are proactively doing here at Attingham is making sure that we are planting new trees for the future.
The resources of the planet are finite and we can't put it off for another generation to resolve. We are the generation who has to act now. What you see is an evolving town based on regeneration and renewal, and it's been like this from one generation to the next. We are now the stewards of the environment and we have a responsibility to pass on a legacy to the next generation. We want to pass on a legacy that's sustainable, a legacy that can be enjoyed by generations to come.